Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Fiberreed podcast. Today we will be talking with Swiss saxophonist Roland Graf, also known as G-SAX. A longtime Fiberreed endorser, Roland celebrated his 20th year with Fiberreed by collaborating with Harry Hartmann to create the second Artist Series Fiberreed, the G-SAX model. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the third episode of the Fiberreed podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us because he is another one of our Artist Series endorsers. That is an endorser that Harry has worked with to create an Artist Series Fiberreed. And we'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Roland Graf, also known as G-SAX, which is then the name of the Artist Series Reed that was produced together with Harry. And Roland, you, I believe, are in Switzerland and spend most of your time in Switzerland and playing there. So, welcome. I want to see your face for a second. So,
yeah, welcome, Danny.
Okay. Well, we're here, and with as usual, first thing we'd like to do is get a little background, and wondering what kind of backstory you might have, how you got to play saxophone, how you got to become a musician, and how you made it your career and a successful career from what we've heard, and how your passion and your love for music influences and really informs your life, let's say.
Yes, yeah. I started with 10. I started with clarinet in a village band, and then I started with 14. I started playing saxophone, and then after I made I was trained as a photographer, and after the diploma I started to study music a little bit more seriously. I went to the Swiss Jazz School in Bern. My teacher was Andy Scherer. Andy Scherer is a well-known great saxophonist. And then I was there for a few years with also Vince Benedetti, Billy Brooks, great people who I learned a lot. But the story was in the jazz field, it's a complete other field as I experienced a few years later when I went to study classical music. When I studied classical music, I had to the whole sound concept was completely new. Before I played Otto Link 8-star, with Rico 2 or 2.5, and then I had to go back to Selma C-star with very closed openings, and a complete other sound concept. And it was a good experience for me, because then I started to manage all the different kinds of dynamics. In jazz, I usually played mostly loud in the band, drums and everything around. You play a little bit louder. Yes. In the classical music, it's vice versa. Completely opposite. You have to fit into an orchestra with strings and oboe and everything, and so it was completely all different. But improvisation it was great to study classical music for this, but but improvisation is the main thing I like to do. So I'm coming really from jazz. I'm seeing myself as a jazz musician, and now, if I can go further, now I play very different styles. I work a lot with house DJs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a complete other sound concept.
Yes.
And this was, I would say, this a little bit an overview of this what I did in my life. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's quite a different world between the jazz and the classical, and going between them is can be a challenge.
Yes.
But obviously also prepared you for a career in both the jazz and also the pop and house and DJ world, which I've dabbled in a little bit myself.
Yeah.
So, but the nice thing I always find is the jazz background does give you the ability to work in all these different areas, really. Although the classical world does seem to be a little bit more restrictive in some ways. But the modern ones are actually more open, I believe, and especially the saxophone world.
Yeah, sure.
So you've been doing this for, let's say, I don't know, 40 years now or something like that.
Yeah. I'm doing it absolutely professionally without giving any lessons anymore. I gave so many lessons now. I'm happy I don't have to do it. I had great students which also went into professional conservatories, etc. But now, since 20 years, I'm doing my living by gigs, also by bookings, which I play. It's around 120 bookings a year, something like this.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, and apparently you've been playing on Fiberreeds for about that long now too.
Yes.
Harry was saying this is your 20th year.
Yeah. It's interesting because the reason I went to the Fiberreed was not first of all that they are so long lasting, but it was the sound which I was very interested in it, to have the warm sound, but also, how you say, the upper partials from the sound.
Yes.
And as I started to play, I played very much the Sanborn style, with a Dukov. And played a lot alto saxophone, much like the David Sanborn style, like this sandy, the sandy sound, let's say. And now my style changed a little bit. I like more the warm sounds, more the cannonball sounds. But when I play house, then I play more the more powerful. And I can do everything with the Fiberreeds. And the other thing is also they are very, very long lasting. And perhaps the most important thing is I had from the beginning on, I had a direct relation to Harry Hartmann. So Harry Hartmann, I could work with him on the reeds. He sent me some and I said, this one is good, but this one, no, this doesn't work. And also the cutting, the first cutting was this, you see also there in, here.
Yes.
This classical shape you have on the usual reeds, And this I like very much. It's a very nice feeling to play,
Yes, I've talked to Harry about that, a few times because, there were several reasons why he went to. Well, I don't have one here now.
The more vertical,
the straight cut across.
The horizontal, yeah.
The horizontal straight cut across.
Yeah.
And I had a few other people who were like, "What happened? We left those other the curve cut, the regular cut reeds." And I guess there's a thing in the production that makes it quite a bit simpler to cut across than to create the curve.
Yeah.
But it is a nice thing to have that for, especially for if you have more sensitivity to the actual playing of the reed and so on.
Yeah.
So when you had him customize your first reeds and before you came out with this Artist Series, you were able to work with him already on creating a cut that worked for you. Did you have another reed that was kind of a template that you
Yes,
showed him, that just
yes,
you liked?
yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a sample read which I sent him, and he scanned it and produced more reads like the sample, and this worked quite well. Yeah. I have to say, I like it because, let's say, if he produces 5 reeds, all theoretically they should all be the same, but they are never all the same. And I like this because there are gigs which I have to play very laid back, very soft, you know, and there are gigs which I need a little bit more tension in the reed.
Okay.
And so I have both worlds, you know. It's I like this. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not necessary to have every read the same. You know. So, but they have to be just little changes, little differences. Yeah.
And they have to be able to. You have to have reeds that actually do work for you and play in the
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
manners that you like that.
Yeah.
I found that definitely for reeds. I mean, you know, there's a good variety, just in the reeds of some stuff themselves, of course. But then, even as you say, in the on the same cut and the same style, um, you just get different kinds of reeds. So a little
Yeah.
bit like mouthpieces too. Mouthpieces are like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
too.
Sure. Sure.
Even
Same. Same. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though they machine them down to the
Yeah.
1,000th of an inch and everything,
Mm-hmm.
they just play just a little bit different one from the other, even though it's the same mouthpiece,
Mm-hmm.
same model and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
always nice to be able to try them
Yeah.
and be able to adjust them.
Yeah. I think one of the main ideas with the artist, as of the G-SAX read, was also because if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a website, gsax.ch, and there you have the link to the YouTube channel, and there are more than 200 videos, all played with Fiberreed, every one. And so often people say, "Oh, wow, I like your sound. Which instrument do you use?" And they ask, and I will say, okay, I have a Meyer 7 on the alto saxophone, and I have a Yamaha or a Selmer saxophone. But the most important thing, the heart of the sound, is the reed. The reed makes everything, you know. It makes it from crazy to very warm. And so I think it was also to fulfill a certain request from certain sax fans who say, okay, I would like to go in this direction from the sound like you play. And then I can say, okay, try this. You don't have to take a Guardal or something else. Just take a Meyer. I have on the tenor also. I will show some. I will do some samples here with different mouthpieces afterwards. You can take a Meyer 6 and put read an MS or M. Carbon G-SAX, and this is a good base to work on your own sound.
Yeah. Well, that's I guess something you probably got from your classical training too. Is you take different mouthpieces and you make them work for you. And the first thing. Sure. First thing is the reed. I have another friend and endorser also, actually, who has come to that conclusion. He works with Beechler mouthpieces now, helping them with quality control. But he was saying the same thing. Now I'm making mouthpieces, that fit the reed. That I want to play, but that the customer wants to play. I'll take the reed that they're playing and make the mouthpiece fit to that reed.
Yes. For me, always this first is the reed, and then everything around. As I started to play with the Fiberreed, and then I changed my sound concept. I went away from the Dukov, and went to the Meyer mouthpieces, which then worked very well with the Fiberreeds. Yeah,
oh, okay.
And I played many years with Selmer, but now I'm like have a Yamaha 82 unlockered, also 82Z UL, which is very consistent in sound, which I like very much, and it is very good, very well in tune. It's perfect for me. And then on the tenor I have an very old Selmer Mark 6. No, it's not so old. It's from the 60s, something like this. 107 72,000, so yeah, so 65, 66,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
66, 67. It's a very nice one, yeah. I have different tenors and different altos, Selmer, but these two I use most, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's Harry was saying that you mentioned that you really built your sound around the reed.
Yeah.
What is it that you like in a reed? If, let's say if you compared it to maybe, I don't know, you haven't played Kane in so long, so it's been a long time, I'm sure. But you know, I have people kind of asking me like, what would be a fiber reed that would be like a Rico Jazz Select or a Van Doren B16 or something like that, or do you have something that your artist series reed might be compared to in your mind, or does that not enter your thoughts?
Compared to the
Kane, or I mean, if you have other synthetic reeds that you've tried that you might compare it to.
Yeah, I have to say, I have to be honest. I tried everything. I have the Leisure, and then the
fiber cells.
fiber cells. I tried different, but I always had to say no. The carbons are perfect for me because they have more life in the sound, And what I like very much is if I have a reed which works well for me, it lasts very, very long, If I had a can reed, after a few gigs, latest after a few gigs, you have to change it,
Yeah.
And then that's really a beautiful thing, yeah.
Have you developed, I mean, Harry just says to wash them with warm water, maybe a little soap or something. Have you developed any kind of special care procedure that you use to keep your reeds?
No, just the usual hygienic stuff. You wash it or put a little bit spray on it, but more not. Yeah.
Keep it clean.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that the fiber reeds, they are so near to the natural can reed, so that if perhaps I had some reeds which have been a little bit too soft, and I played it at a certain time, and so the saliva or the humidity, everything which went in, changed the tension, the way they play, So it's really very near to a natural reed, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to, yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I found that the hollow fibers, I remember, I mean, the reason I started on them was I think I was on a fiber cell, which was working okay. But I think the same night that I tried Harry's reeds, I was like, wow, this actually feels and plays like a real cane reed, or very close to it. So props to Harry for coming up with that special material. I think it's the white hollow fiber material that really makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. And what is also very important, you can work on it. I take the sandpaper, something like this, some sandpaper. Yes. I use 600, 800 and 1000. So if it's really too hard, then I take the 600, but usually 800 and 1000 to, let's say, to make the tip a little bit thinner, or you can work on it like a usual can reed. That's very important. Yeah. So most time I work on them to change a little bit something, let's say more in the lower part the mouthpiece, where the deep notes, if let's say if the very deep register doesn't work so well, then I take a lot away here, so on the lower part. And if I see that in the pianissimo part it's too hard, then I take away in this direction, something like this. And so you can do with very, let's say, in an easy way, you can custom the reed for your own needs.
And that's a big plus point for fiber reeds for sure, is that you can adjust them, and so you have the ability between different strengths, if you're in between the strengths, or if you just want to tweak it a little bit to really make it work for you.
Yes, yes.
Even you can even sand the tip back a little bit. I've had people, you know, come with a chip reed, and you can just like
Yes, yes.
work the
Yeah,
tip like your
yeah,
fingernail and
yeah.
bring it back a little bit and even it out
Yeah.
again.
If they are
That's
too
where
soft or so.
I've had people come to me with reeds that are like shredded at the tip, and they're like, "This is my favorite reed. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah,
to
yeah, 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 yeah. I have also some reeds which look not very, very beautiful, but they work perfectly. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah, yeah,
curious thing.
yeah.
Um, well, you know, so after all this work with you know over the years, you know, after playing on fiber reeds and having your reeds customized for so long already, what inspired you, or how made you guys decide to actually work together for somewhat of an extended period of time to really nail down and get very specific and come out with the artist series read that is in your name?
Yeah, I think one thing was for sure also the 20 years jubilee, because I used them since 20 years. And the other thing is the special shape it has, you know, with the heart. We know this from the hemp reeds, or
Yes.
I think that the hemp reeds, they have this, and the usual carbon reeds are the horizontal cuts. And there is this cut was at the end, let's say in the last few years, in the last years, I was perhaps the only one who used this. He made them especially for me in this shape. You know, he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't sold them or.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, I work on them and I don't change anything. So I will use them also in the future. So he told me, let's do an artist suite, let's do a G-SAX suite. And then I thought, yeah, why not? It was great. But then we have really to sit together and work on the reeds, and also check it out with different kind of mouthpieces, so that we can say, okay, we have a good base which works also on different needs, you know. Let's say
So
the typical jazz need, which like a more, let's say, a Paul Desmond sound, or other ones who like more Sanborn sound, just as an example.
right. Yeah, I mean, and I think in the meantime, he's also kind of worked with somebody else on another
Yes.
artist series, which is much more of a classical oriented read.
Yeah.
You know, even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
I think Rodrigo is he's not quite doesn't like to being pegged into being classical, but it is more a little more into that direction than maybe yours are. I haven't gotten to try your final tenor version yet, but the alto version is very beautiful, and I can see definitely that how that heart makes a big difference in the sound and the feel of it.
Would you like to? Should I play a few sounds?
Yeah, we would definitely be interested. Yeah, I'd love to hear you play a few notes on the new reeds. Are you happy with the new tenor, with the final design of the tenor at this point?
Yes, very, 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 very happy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just
a second.
Yeah.
This one is a Meyer, and now I take a Dukov with the same reed.
That was definitely a very beautiful, kind of a traditional sound.
Yeah.
That one.
More funky.
Yes.
And perhaps another one. This is Jumbo Java, which is also nice. With the same, always with the same reed.
So that was a Dukov, and now you're putting on the Java, you said?
Yeah. Yes, this was a Dukov D7, and
Okay.
the other was a Meyer 7, and now I have a Jumbo Java 45, I think, yeah.
Jumbo Java,
Also,
okay.
Yeah. It's completely other in the character, but it's always the same reed. That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. I do the same with the tenor.
Yeah, let's hear it on the tenor. You can definitely hear your sound through them all.
Oh, sorry. Okay. This one is it's a Meyer 6M. It's a very quite small opening, and then I have here a metal one that's a V16, Van Doren V16 metal, which is bigger in the size. Just here I took a little bit as a thinner reed.
Oh, okay, a lighter reed.
Yeah, a lighter reed. Yeah.
Is it? I gotta say, you know, one of the beauties of the saxophone is that you can change these things and just sound so completely, you know, different, like from a different world. I mean, that hard rubber in the beginning, the Meyer, or well, was it the Meyer on the tenor?
It's the Meyer 6,
It's such a big fat traditional sound, and then you put the other one on, and it just shit totally changes.
Genau, the Van Doren V16 was it T55, yeah. So I used no reverb, no equalizing, just a dry sound. I don't know how it sounds on the podcast, but my experience is it's better to have a little bit a warmer sound, because as soon as you work with microphones and so, then it gets more, you can change that. You can get a little bit more treble or a little bit more middles. But the older I get, I like more the round, the warm sound. As I was young, I had more the Dukov sound. You will see there are a lot of video clips on YouTube, also elder ones, and you will see the difference. But important is really, I can absolutely 100% every clip you see, or also recordings. If you go to Spotify also, all the recordings are exclusively Fiberreed carbones. Always. Right. I tried also the other Fiberreeds, the different kinds of Fiberreeds, which are nice. But for me, the Fiberreed carbon works best.
Works the best.
Yeah, works the best.
It's interesting. I mean, for me, my preference has been over the years now working with the natural classic. I know not as many people seem to like it, but you know, I always tell people I can tell you about the reeds, you know, all day long, but until you actually put it on your mouthpiece and try it, you know, it doesn't mean anything, because it's all depends on how it works together with your mouthpiece, with your embouchure, your body, your approach to playing.
Absolutely.
You know, But I really appreciated the different cut on the carbons. I think that actually does make a really big difference. So I'm excited to get some of the new tenor ones and try them out.
Awesome.
And maybe I may even switch, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
may like it.
I have to say, the medium hard are too hard for me. No, usually I have MS, the medium soft, work perfectly for me. Even with the small openings, let's say a minor
Okay.
6 or something.
Right.
Even then, yeah, I don't see any reason to go harder.
Yeah.
So
Again,
yeah,
that's
just yeah.
I know a lot of, you know, especially when we're younger, we tend to think, oh, you know, we have to be tougher and go harder. But you know, I think with age, like you're saying, you know, we learn that there's some people who swear by, you know, just medium tip openings, 5/6s, and soft reeds, and you should be able to do everything, you know, with that. And you know, you can train yourself and teach yourself to really work that. So
Sure.
yeah, it's all very much a matter of your own personal, you know, approach and taste, and what you want to be able to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Just
real briefly, I
yeah.
was going to ask you, what was the process of working with Harry, like on these reads? Because I know
Yeah.
he's a powerhouse. Once he gets going, you know, he'll work, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours, just,
It
you know,
was
no
it was a lot. Yeah,
nonstop. Maybe a
yeah,
lunch break or something, but he'll just keep
yeah,
going until, you know,
yeah,
until he
yeah,
feels like he's gotten somewhere. What was
yeah,
that like for you?
yeah. I went from Zurich to Stuttgart. I drive 2-3 hours, and then at wie sagt man, was heißt Zoll? At
The customs, yeah.
at the customs, they took me out and they said, "Hey, what are you doing here? And so, why do you go to Germany?" And then I had to tell them
Justify yourself.
everything, and then I showed them my box, you know, with I don't know how many reeds are there, and they said, oh, "Okay, you can go." No, and then I went there, and the first thing I took I selected a few reeds, 4 reeds for tenor, 4 reeds for alto, which I like, which he did often for me. And then we started to, and I told him what I would like wie sagt man, zu verbessern,
To improve.
To improve. On alto, I don't like the upper registers. The upper registers on alto are often too thin, you know. And so we worked on the reed. We changed a little bit the shape. Also based on the reed which he worked with Rodrigo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we found a certain mix. So yeah, and he made a first read, and then I tried it out and said, okay, this is nice, but here I don't like it. And then we worked always. It's like a ping pong, you know, just always changing a little bit, working on it, and then at the end I said, okay, now we have it. And then he has special machines which can measure everything on hundredths of millimeter. He can measure it, and he can program it, and he can save it. And then he has a special machine who wie sagt man, schleifen.
To cut it, yeah.
Yeah, to cut it in a perfect way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the alto, yeah, we had a half day, and the tenor was really very difficult. We had at least 6 hours to work on a reed, which we can say now, yeah, this makes a very good base for further reads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things he's mentioned to me also is that, you know, some of the inconsistencies, just like in regular cane, I mean, come from, you know, the fact that he still makes the material essentially by hand. You know, he layers the layers and glues them together. He has a machine for it, but he does everything by hand. So even there can be slight variations in the material, you know, as much as he wants to get it as consistent as possible. But by the fact that it's a handmade process, it just
indeed
has some variation, and so even if you have exactly the same cut, you might get a reed that plays just a tiny bit different. I think it's hard for most players to really be able to notice that, but when you get to, you know, playing as long as you have, and to that level of sensitivity and hearing, it just makes it does make a big difference.
Yeah, and also, you know, the acoustic surrounding, you know, so if I can check out a reed at home, say, okay, perfect, and then I go to the place where I have to play, perhaps outdoors now in summer, or perhaps indoors, and you see, oh no, the reed is too hard. I have to play much softer, so I have to get another reed which is a little bit thinner, a little bit, or the opposite. You know, you work it out, and then you play with a band, and then you see, oh no, you need more tension to play more in the fortissimo, you know. Also one thing more in the pianissimo, one thing more in the fortissimo. So it's important that you have the bass. Let's say I have, 6 carbon G-SAX MS, and they are all nice and good, but the little differences I have, I can take reed number 1 for pianissimo and take reed number 4 for fortissimo, you know, for in a band environment also.
Yes. Yeah, I can attest to that, having, you know, tried things, you know, either at a manufacturer or at the fair or something, and you know, it's wonderful, and then you take it home and you're like, this is not doing anything like what I experienced in the other place.
That's the point.
So, well, you know, we don't want to keep this going too long, but we're always curious a little bit about, because we get to talk to people from different places in the world. So we'd love to hear a little bit from you about what the music scene, the jazz scene, you know, the pop scene, the sort of private party scene is like in Switzerland, and I don't know, you probably do you play in other places in Europe too? Do you get outside of Switzerland as well?
Not very much. Mostly Switzerland. Okay. Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland is a unique place. I actually had the privilege of performing there a few times and spent a little time in Bern and some other places, Basel, I think. And it's a fantastic place, but you don't usually associate it much with a jazz scene. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. No, there's a great jazz scene in Switzerland. A lot of very young people are really doing it seriously, studying in it's called ZHDK, Zürcher Hochschule der Künste, as example for Zurich. There are great saxophonists around. They are mostly specialized in the jazz field. They don't do so much pop stuff or something like what I do. I think I'm one of the, let's say, a handful professional saxophonists who really work regularly with DJs, doing in the house or pop field. There are not so many. But in the jazz field, there are a lot of great saxophonists around,
Yeah.
And one point is, you know, there are more and more, the music field is filled with DJs, you know. So the younger people, they don't grow up with live music. They grow up with DJs, or they go to a concert. They go to Jacob Collier and all fantastic,
right.
Or they go, But as a everyday thing, so like as it was before, the DJs have been there. Everything changed now. So for me, it was also very important. The first thing I worked with Boy George at the Zurich Fest. It was
cool.
Big
I
story.
just heard him on the radio. They were just interviewing him just last week or something here on one of the radio stations. It was so funny to hear.
And so this was the initiation that the people started to say, oh, you played house with Boy George. Could you do this in our clubs here in Zurich? And so I started, and I played nearly every week, and they were crazy about, because they realized the missing link, you know, between the energy of what the DJ is doing over the with the speakers, and the people who wants to feel the music. And if you have someone between, the missing link of someone who really lives the music or realizes the music at the moment, instantly, and that's fantastic for most of them. And so
what's one of the biggest, so yeah, no, I you know, I've done a little bit of that too. I did it for a few years. I played with a DJ. What was one of the sort of adjustments you had to make, you know, coming from a jazz world where you know we think about soloing and creating melodies and so on. But when you play with DJs and house music or different EDM music and so on, you really have to approach it differently. How do you feel like you had to change your sort of approach to playing and so on?
In the beginning, I played like a DJ, like a usual jazz saxophonist, you know, all with the virtuoso stuff. And then I had to learn to go more in this pattern stuff, yeah. Okay. And what I use with DJ is a Zoom CDR70 effect. So they are I have delays on it. I have octavider. I have reverbs, chorus, and this stuff. So that the sound of the saxophone, the acoustic sound of the saxophone, melts as good as possible with the sound the DJ is doing.
Right.
And the other thing is that usually the DJ is playing songs which are finished. They are ready. Usually you don't say it needs saxophone. So it's a challenge. How can I bring some lines into it so that people say, "Oh wow, it sounds even better with saxophone."
And you're not playing over the top of the song.
It enhances it. Enhancing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then also the sound concept a little bit, the rhythmic concept. And what is also not easy is you have to be skilled on every scale, because sometimes you play in C and then you play in C sharp, and on a saxophone, if you have your lines playing perfectly in C sharp, it's a little bit heavier. So everyone can do it. And also, my credo is, I never tell the DJ what he should play or what he should do. He is doing his stuff, and I listen, and if it makes sense, I play. And you will find a lot of examples on YouTube on this.
Do you ever find it a problem when if DJs they sometimes they change the pitch and they end up between two keys or something? There
is on the Pioneer mixers. There are it's a knob. It's called Master Tempo.
Okay.
Master Tempo, and if I always have to tell them, please push the Master Tempo, activate the Master Tempo, and that's great. So they can change the speed, also to melt two songs when they mix, but the pitch remains.
Okay.
So. But there are some songs like Lady. Lady is a catastrophe. Lady is really a quarter of a note between. So you can't play it to it. They used a sample which was a little bit too low, and they built everything around. So the original Lady, da 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 da. You know this song, perhaps, I don't know. It's a famous song. So this is one of these songs which it doesn't work. But technically it works. I have to speak with the DJs, and then it works well.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's really a whole different world, and there's a lot less. I've found there's a lot less emphasis on sort of being the center of attention than to be really be part of the whole thing, part of the atmosphere and the vibe, and just adding to it rather than being sort of standing out as a soloist or something like that.
Yeah, my concept is I go really between the people. You will see if you go to Facebook or Instagram on my account. I just played 2 weeks ago, on a boat party, and I've been really close to the girls. You know, you will see it.
Okay.
So it's for me also important that they should feel me, you know, and it works always very well. Yeah. So,
well, that goes back into the history of R&B and blues, you know, walking the bar and the whole thing, and going out in the audience for sure. So you're drawing on a long history of that. You know, that was the beauty of the saxophone. You could take it away from the amplifiers and the band, and just go into the audience and woo the ladies and the guys.
Even now when I play with, let's say, with backing tracks, you know, I take the saxophone and I go really to the people, and then I speak with them and say, what would you like to hear, or make some jokes or so. They were always wanted to put their beer into my saxophone, you know.
Oh, God.
I always say only single malt, and the 40 years old single malt. And then I say that's the reason why the saxophone players sometimes they play this way. They have to drink the whiskey where the people put in.
Oh boy! Make sure you get
you have to be a clown a little bit.
Spit out first, right? there's some things in there, yeah.
or they always say to me, "I'm sure you don't play yourself. You're just doing that." And as I always say, if I would play myself, you couldn't pay it anymore.
Yeah, okay. That's great. Well, Johannes said it was curious. He heard that you did a show with a very famous tennis player, for his wedding or something, Roger Federer, and Mirka's wedding. And I don't know, do you have anything that you can tell us about that? Just for
this story here.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was very interesting. It was top secret. Some a lady called me and said me if I'm free then and then. I said yes. I always ask, what is it? Is it a birthday? Is it a wedding? Is it a corporate event or something? And which kind of music? So I can offer them an individual, a perfect concept. And there's no, I can't tell you who will marry or something. It's completely secret.
Oh, okay.
So I had no idea who it is or who this important person will be. So I did did a little band with a singer who's also playing piano and a guitar player. And there was Mia Audrey was the piano player and the singer, and Felix Utzinger is a Swiss guitarist. Guitarist was the guitarist, and so we went there and waited. It was near Basel in Riehen, and suddenly they came around, and so we made this photo. It was very, very strange, and it was a little. They made just a little party, just 25 people, and they said, "Oh, you should stay longer and play more," and so on. It was very funny, yeah, very nice.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Great experience, I'm sure. Yeah, they don't let you know ahead of time. I just saw some post that he does a lot of work in helping people in Africa, you know, with education and obviously playing tennis and so on. So perhaps that must have been a beautiful experience actually to get to, you know, play for him and maybe even talk to him a little bit and stuff.
A very nice human being, very modest, or how to say, very nice, yeah. Also the Mirka, his wife, very nice people, really.
Beautiful. Well, I don't really have any more questions right now. I don't want to go on too long. You know, but do you have anything that you have thought of that you'd like to add to this and kind of tell us about? You told, and obviously, you know, you can give us your website again and all that, but anything else that's been kind of in the back of your mind that you want to tell people about?
No, I think it's a good thing to try this Fiberreed. This also different kinds of Fiberreeds, but also the Fiberreed Carbon G-SAX is certainly a good base to work on it. If you know, I am a little bit a sound aesthetic, you know, if you like to have a nice, beautiful, warm sound, it's certainly a good idea to work with them. And you can have a look on my website, gsax.ch, and there are some links, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and a lot of video clips, so you get an idea how this reeds sound, and you can also ask questions if you go to a video and see something which are you interested. Normally I write everything about what I use technically, or sometimes in the end of the video all the technical equipment I use. Also, or else people can also ask, and I usually respond quite quick. Yeah.
Well, super. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you come and sit with us and talk with us. And it's so much appreciated. Fiberreed appreciates you, and 20 years, you know, congratulations.
Same. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, maybe we get to do this again some other time in a different setting. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Fiberreed podcast. Reeds built to last, providing you consistent precision sound quality that you can count on.